and we are in Grand Crew County here, trying to get our first EA. And this place is a town on the offshore of Barclayville called Philoken. In order to arrive there, you have to navigate this path, and this is the only route.
Afrobarometer does public attitude surveys in Africa. When you hear the word surveys, you might think of phone interviews or online polls. For Afrobarometer, that's not quite how it works. Since 1999, Afrobarometer has interviewed more than 250,000 Africans in 38 countries about their experiences and evaluations of quality of life, governance, democracy, and other topics. That means our national partners have sent teams to more than 250,000 African homes, no matter where they are. A 2-day hike away in the outback of Madagascar, or the mountains of Lesotho, in the slums of Lagos, or the gated communities of Johannesburg, in unstable or conflict zones, in the flooded backcountry of Zambia or Liberia. Why? Because to make the voices of average citizens count in public policy making, Afrobarometer is committed to getting reliable data that is truly representative of each country's population. So we use a scientific method that gives every adult citizen in every region of the country, in remote rural areas as well as in cities, the same chance of being interviewed. From that list, we randomly select a set number of enumeration areas. Some areas will be within driving distance, others may be days away by car, by bus, on foot, by canoe. Every one of our teams could tell stories about every one of their surveys. Here, we can only share a few.
One of our team members, Francis from Uganda, he was down in Zambia monitoring some field work and just helping oversee the implementation of the survey there. And he was out in the field with one of the Zambian teams in a remote rural area, and they were trying to get to their site where they were supposed to do their interviews. And they came across a bridge over a river that was too broken down to use. There was still some structure there, but they could not get across it.
We decided to press on and go take a look at the bridge and see if we could fix it. I banked on my engineering training and rallied the team, and we got assistance from the community. There were many men and children who were willing to assist. They came with cutting equipment, some axes, pangas, and the broken bridge was in the middle of a forest, so we were able to cut down logs and trees and collected some strappings from the forest that we used to tie together logs and trees, branches, to make our makeshift bridge. We were not so sure it would work because the logs were all wet. And at one point, as we attempted to drive our field vehicle over the bridge, we feared that the vehicle could actually fall into the water. But luckily we managed. We drove the car across, we made it to the other side safely. Our team was able to work in the 2 villages as assigned, and we used the other road to travel back to Mwinilunga successfully.
At times, Afrobarometer survey teams have some very close calls. During our Round 6 survey in Kenya, for example, a team was to survey 3 districts in the far northeast near the Somalian border, a region known for criminal and terrorist activity, where buses move in convoys with police or military escort. One of the 5 team members missed the bus in Nairobi, so about halfway to their final destination, the other 4 team members got off to wait for him, letting their bus go on without them.
As they were waiting, about 10 in the morning, there was a curfew. There were sirens, there were military operations, there were police operations in Wajir, and ambulances and sirens and a lot of security activity. And when they went to inquire what exactly had happened, it turned out that the bus that they had come with from Nairobi, the bus that they had decided to disembark from to wait for their colleague that had remained in Nairobi, that bus had been ambushed by the Al-Shabaab, who had laid an ambush along the way between Wajir and Mandera. A number of people were killed in that particular bus, including some of the police officers who were escorting the bus to Mandera.
During ensuing military operations in the area, the national partner was able to get the team back to Nairobi on a UN helicopter. After monitoring the security situation for a few days, they decided to head back out to the 3 districts as planned. Not all our trips are quite so dramatic. Sometimes you just have to go with the flow, as one of our Round 6 teams discovered when they were sent to a village in northern Malawi that could only be reached by boat. 4 of our 5 team members had never been on a boat before. They asked if they could substitute a place that was easier to get to.
But of course, the national investigator said no. If this enumeration area has been selected and it is in Malawi, then you have to go there. So anyway, they hired a boat. It took them about 6 hours to actually get to the town of Mamrowe on the water. They got there, they did their interviews. And then on their way back, just about 2 hours while they were on the boat, it turned out that the boat had run out of petrol. So they were stuck in the middle of the water. Most likely, very few, if any of them, could swim. And naturally, I think they started to panic. And I should have mentioned that they actually also had a police officer escort them on the boat. So when they were heading back and they'd run out of gas, they tried to flag some boats that were passing by, and because they had this police officer in uniform, the other boats didn't want to stop because they may be worried that I don't know whether they didn't even have the permits to be on the lake. So anyway, they eventually had to rely, I think, on just the waves on the lake to push them, and I think it ended up taking them like 9 hours to eventually get back to the shore on the other side of the lake.
Safely back from their face-to-face interviews, each survey team brings thousands of data points which Afrobarometer will compile, analyze, and disseminate to policymakers, journalists, activists, and scholars all over the world. This is how the voices of African citizens are heard in the halls of power, helping to shape policies that affect their lives. This is what makes Afrobarometer the world's leading source of reliable data on what Africans are thinking. Behind the data, we must never forget, are the citizens who agree to share their opinions with us, and the women and men who go to every corner of the continent to ask citizens what they think.